the change that the industry is undergoing, and I think we've only just started on that journey, honestly. But I think it's profound, and it's a true kind of paradigm shift that the 20 years that I've been involved in this industry, we've never seen anything close to it, and that includes the kind of advent of digital and social. So AI will get us like 95% of the way there, particularly on the written content assets that have been with models that have been trained on our proprietary data sets. And then you have like humans elevate it to the 100% client ready quality. I think we're going to get to a point pretty rapidly where we're not selling time, but we're selling both outputs and outcomes. So like, I think the kind of data aspect of this, where we can get to grips with, in a real way, the impact that we're making on our clients' business and start to sell value, not time, I think is a huge opportunity for those marketers or agencies that lean into that.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Crowdcreate Podcast, where we bring on thought leaders to share the untold stories on how to grow your business. Sami, would love for you to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Jeff. Great to be here. So I'm Sami McCabe. I've built my career in the marketing services world. I recently exited an agency that I grew to 150 plus people and 20 plus million in revenue with offices all over the world. It was a business called Clarity. And since then, I've been exploring the kind of intersection of artificial intelligence and marketing, and beginning to figure out what I do next to take advantage of all of the opportunity I see as a consequence of that.
I love it, Sami. And yeah, I do look up to you and what you've done with Clarity. It's impressive. And so, yeah, the buzzword is AI in marketing, AI in advertising. You've ran a successful business before in the marketing agency, advertising agency space, and even touching on PR, and would love to hear from you on how do you see AI being integrated into agencies or even just marketing teams in general, and just some of these trends that are happening now with this technology.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think the change that the industry is undergoing, and I think we've only just started on that journey, honestly. But I think it's profound, and it's a true kind of paradigm shift that the 20 years that I've been involved in this industry, we've never seen anything close to it, and that includes the kind of advent of digital and social. So I think business models on the agency side are going to change rapidly. And the promise of AI, I think, is that ultimately clients get what they've always wanted from their agencies, which is experienced senior human beings who have really nuanced thinking around any given market or category. They can manage that client relationship. They can take a holistic view of any given opportunity on the marketing front. But the vast majority of the execution of whatever strategies and tactics the marketer determines is the best way forward, all of that gets automated. So I see a world in which the kind of typical agency business model, in which you have very broad base or org chart with lots of junior and mid-level people who really keep the cogs turning and do all of the heavy lifting. I think that kind of pyramid structure kind of inverts, and there's much less requirement for legions and scores of junior folks, pushing out content or generating press releases or any of the kind of day-to-day activities that any typical agency does. I think all of that is in the process of getting automated with artificial intelligence.
That's great. So Sam, how would you approach this, as a business owner or even running a marketing agency with the implementation of AI? And I've heard of some private equity companies, backed by some of the biggest. They have these AI teams that cover some of the top tools. They cover the governance side of things. They cover the ethics and also data compliance side of things. And also they have a team dedicated to just implementing it into their specific, tools and services that they provide. But yeah, how do you have like a mindset or of implementing AI in a business?
I have a particular kind of path that I'm working on at the moment where I think the opportunity actually is to create a kind of generic UX UI that
Mm.
enables non-technical marketing people to access this whole kind of world of generative AI technologies without having to interact directly with them. Part of my thinking on this is that the best LLM to generate content today might be an Anthropic product, but my working hypothesis is that that will likely evolve and change, and maybe in 3 months' time, the best model will be an OpenAI product. So I'm working on building a platform that is agnostic with respect to the underlying tech stack, and really just enables non-technical people to take full advantage of this powerful technology without having to learn how to interact with each of these products individually, without having to learn kind of complex data science and prompt engineering, and for all of that to be automated on the back end. So that's the kind of business I'm focused on building at the moment. And I think there's no right or wrong way to take advantage of the challenges and opportunities that this technology is presenting, and there'll be lots of different legitimate solutions for how agencies and marketers more broadly adopt this technology. But yeah, that's my current hypothesis, and one I'm making some good progress on developing.
Yeah, that's great. And with technology, and even like we saw the internet and the dot com, it made things available that was typically not. And so, like building an e-commerce website, it's so easy now with Shopify and just one click deployment. But I agree with you, and being able to pull certain reports in a natural language way. So, if say for me, marketing agency owner to say, who were my top sales reps? Can you share the data and what was some of the language used in the calls and what were some of the hesitations from the client and whatnot? So that's really interesting. So can you
Yeah.
share like what do you think some of those first natural language inquiries would be that marketers could really benefit with AI? Like for me as a business owner, it's definitely analytics and reporting where I just
Right.
sometimes I just don't know and pulling reports just takes a lot of time.
Look, I think there are a ton of like ways to use NLP to create value really rapidly. I think you struck on a couple of really interesting examples. I certainly think in that kind of client services, client happiness, client satisfaction world, being
Mm.
able to use NLP to analyze calls and analyze emails and figure out sentiment and alert the agency side practitioner to issues and possible challenges, I think is super interesting. I think broadly speaking, like the ability to ingest vast amounts of publicly available and proprietary data to inform strategies with really deep insights, and in a kind of analog world, that's a really laborious and slow and painful process. We're now able to expedite that process to the point where we're just getting far richer insights into any given client category, and that helps inform much more targeted strategies, much more bespoke strategies, and the client therefore gets way better outcomes. So that whole kind of process of understanding any given market segment is has been transformed by this technology for us.
Just, first principles of, take care of your customer, listen to what they're saying, and, come up with products and
Yeah,
solutions.
it's
And
amazing how often that kind of very straightforward first principle gets lost in the agency client relationship, unfortunately. But yeah, I think like tech can play a big role in automating the management of that relationship and
wow.
raising flags when there are issues.
So, how do you see AI dealing with the creative standpoint of marketing and advertising? Because AI is great on being trained from just large amounts of data in the past. But then, if you were to say, hey, can you predict the future on this like new ad set that's very polarizing? or, going one way or the other, and the predictive side of it, like how do you approach that side of AI?
Yeah, I think there's like tremendous potential in using AI to get way more kind of accurate in predicting how any particular content asset will actually land with any particular segment or audience. Um, so the way we're thinking about it is that AI will get us like 90-95% of the way there,
Mm,
particularly on written content assets that have been with models that have been trained on our proprietary data sets. And then you have like humans elevate it to the 100% client ready kind of quality. But in addition to that, I think there's this really interesting opportunity to generate content assets at scale and A/B test those content assets against synthetic data sets. So you start to get a sense prior to actually putting any content out into the wild, how is it going to resonate with particular audiences and markets. So you sort of like start to kind of reduce the risk and improve the reliability of any content that you generate, hitting the mark with the audiences that you're trying to reach. So I think there's some very exciting like opportunity in that. And then a step further is actually starting to get to a place where you can, adapt content to various markets and demographics and start to
mm-hmm.
like really get narrow in your targeting. And so at some point, I think there's a world in which, as consumers, we're delivered like such highly personalized
Right.
content from brands, and AI enables you to do that at scale. And even prior to pushing it out, testing whether that whatever creative that you generated is actually going to strike a chord and deliver the response that you're looking for. So I think it's an absolute game changer.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm drinking coffee right now, and just I'm very particular now, and just the options, just in the last 10 years alone, what you could do with it, like the different bean. But I imagine for content, and even when we're creating content here, rather than just having one page dedicated to paid advertising, it's paid advertising now in 20 different industries with 20 different unique use cases, with all customized for the client and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. Anything else interesting in like AI and marketing and advertising that you that kind of comes
Yeah,
top of
I mean,
mind?
I think like there's a whole bunch. We could talk for hours about it, honestly. As you know, I kind of come primarily from an earned media, top of funnel content and comms kind of world, and that's long been a human driven process, which I
Mm,
think everybody, including the practitioners, have found sort of like painful. And it's exciting for me, having been in this industry for now 20 years, and I've made various attempts over the years to kind of integrate technology into what is essentially an extremely analog process, but it's always been kind of challenging to make much progress. We now have this incredible set of tools at our disposal that have emerged over the last couple of years. I think fundamentally changed the game for marketers. And from an agency perspective, I think we're going to get to a point pretty rapidly where we're not selling time, but we're selling both outputs
oh,
and
right.
outcomes. So, like, I think the kind of data aspect of this, where we can get to grips with, in a real way, the impact that we're making on our clients' business and start to sell value, not time, I think is a huge opportunity for those marketers or agencies that lean into that. So that's the kind of big, medium to long term goal for us, is that we just change the entire model so that, we're much more deeply embedded in the client side metrics and data, and we really understand, which channels are working. And, for a long time that's been possible in performance marketing, but much harder at this kind of top of the funnel. I now think there's a world in which, the full stack of marketing channels is like inherently measurable. And as a consequence of that, we can start, you know, figuring out a different way to price for our services that's directly tied to the outcomes on the client side. So I think that's a very exciting opportunity for people in our world.
Wow. Yeah, that's fantastic. You really hit it on that, because yeah, the agency models is, rather than time, it is output and experience and whatnot. Is there any kind of like advice that you can share for businesses right now that are looking to bring in AI and marketing, and even for ourselves here at our companies, like we're now really starting to focus on brand. When you have
Mhm.
unlimited amounts of content that can be created, it's to create a brand, and for us it's like having credible people talk about these principles, and really just trying to set ourselves above all the noise now
Right.
with AI and just like content. But yeah, do you have any advice for business owners on just embracing
Look, I
AI?
think like my advice is to, you know, I think there's like a sort of, from my perspective at least, a surprising amount of inertia. And I think that inertia with respect to adoption of AI technologies, and I think a lot of it comes from an understandable fear of what this technology will do to
Mm-hmm.
existing business models. And I think there are some really difficult questions that business owners need to ask, particularly marketing agency leaders. I've spoken to dozens of agencies recently, and the vast majority have established some kind of AI task force or working group, and they convene once a month and have a discussion about it. And there's very little action on the back of it, and I think that is like a recipe for disaster. I think if you're not, much more kind of proactive about driving change within your organization to adapt to this new technology set, I think you'll find yourself in a really challenging position pretty rapidly. I think things are moving at such incredible pace that my advice, in short, is that you have to drop everything and jump on the opportunity as rapidly as possible.
I 100% agree. And in terms of the fear, right? The fear of like saying that AI is not going to replace you as a marketer, but you as a marketer will be replaced by another marketer that knows how to use AI and
Totally, yeah.
yeah, and adopt these tools. And even we saw it recently when ChatGPT was first released, and there's also something called Jasper AI,
Sure.
content writing. They're like, oh wow, I don't need content writers anymore. AI can just replicate everything. And then for a short dip, the demand for content writers was low, but now it's back and more than ever. And just I say, hey, content writers, like you can use ChatGPT now for your research, and they can go above and beyond because AI generated content in addition with a human to create an awesome user experience from a web page has been fantastic for most
Totally.
people.
Yeah, it isn't a replacement for great human marketers or copywriters or PR people. It's just something that vastly enhances their ability to execute brilliantly. So yeah, that's totally agree. It's the sooner you get on it, the better, is my
Yeah.
advice.
Sounds good. Anything in closing, Sammy, you want to share? Best ways for
Mm,
people to get a hold of you or
I'm best reached on LinkedIn, Sami McCabe. Yeah, and always open to meeting with people and talking about these topics. So we would love to connect with as many people as possible as we all figure out what this new technology means for our industry. So yeah, always keen to learn and always keen to meet people. I'm really grateful to you, Jeff, for hosting me today. It's been really fun.
nice. Yeah, thanks, Sammy. All right. Take care.
Take care. Thanks, man. Bye.